Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reactions series, the show in which we react to the latest Arsenal news, developments in transfers, matches, whatever it seems to be surrounding Arsenal, but we're here to react with you and get your reactions too. Now, this is usually a live show, but there's good reason for why this one isn't. I wanted to get some really brilliant insight from two very well-respected journalists out there and give you the latest and most up-to-date and best information that I possibly can, and so that's what I have done regarding two bids that have gone in for two separate players from the Arsenal. Of course, I uploaded yesterday's video on Ruben Diaz, which you can still go and check out and get the information on the Benfica centre-back and why Arsenal are linked to him. And then I thought, oh, it's been a bit of a quiet one. Hopefully this week I'll be a little bit quiet, have a little bit of a relaxation. Went out on Friday night, had a couple of drinks with some friends. And what happens? Well, lots of news drops. Now I've got to make a load of videos. So that's what happens in the world of football. It does not stop moving. So I hope you appreciate that. And if you are appreciating all of the shows that have been going on, please do drop the video a like. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. And of course, leave those comments in the comment section below. They are always positive. Really, really good debate goes on there as well. Good chat for you to get involved in and talk to some really good people who know their stuff about football. But let's get into today's video and talk about the first player which I want to mention, and that is Nicolás Pepe. Now, Nicolás Pepe is obviously someone who's on the radar of lots of Europe's top clubs, such as Bayern Munich, such as Liverpool, and these teams have been going for this guy because of the fantastic record that he did do in Liga last season. Scored a lot of goals, got a lot of assists for Lille, and got them into the Champions League positions and qualifying for them. So the fact that Arsenal then reportedly yesterday put in a €72 million bid for the Ivorian winger was a little bit of a surprise. Arsenal have got a little thing about Ivorian wingers at the moment. Of course, we put in a very high-profile bid for Wilfried Zaha very recently, and now we're seemingly going for Nicolás Pepe. Now, there's different outlets that are saying this is definitely true, this is happening, and there's other outlets such as our Oracle David Ornstein that says that no bid has been subjected. Now, before I go into my judgment on what I think, I'm going to give you some really good insight from our good friend Jeremy Smith. Of course, Jeremy helped me out with the Nabil Fekir video, who ironically now seemingly is linked to Real Betis. I mean, I can't believe we're letting the likes of Nabil Fekir move to Real Betis for around €30 million when we should be swooping in for that. But that's moved, that's passed. But we're going to get Jeremy's thoughts now on Nicolás Pepe and how he feels the Ivorian would fit in. Would it be a good deal? Does he actually think it will happen? And why are we suddenly linked with this guy? So tune in and listen to Jeremy's thoughts.
Arsenal are the latest team who've been linked with Nicolás Pepe, the Lille winger, in what is becoming one of the transfer sagas of the summer. He had a fantastic season last year at Lille with 22 goals and 11 assists in Liga. That was coming off the back of around 10 goals the year before. So although he's 24 and sort of coming into his prime, you could argue he's only had kind of 18 months of top quality football so far. He's been tried at centre forwards, it hasn't really worked, but as a winger, he's really come into his own. He's fast, he's skillful, he's got a good cross and obviously a great finish on him. His best position is starting on the right wing and cutting inside left-footed in a kind of Arjen Robben style. There's been lots of rumour about him this summer. Inter, Liverpool, Atletico, all supposedly interested. He clearly wants to go to PSG, but either they're not interested or they can't yet afford him, or a little bit of both. And the rumours this week about Everton and Arsenal possibly are his agent just trying to generate some interest. 80 million, which is the figure that Arsenal have supposedly offered, is quite a lot and possibly a bit of a risk for him. As I said, there's definitely quality there, but he hasn't yet shown it long term. And for example, looking at his performances for the Ivory Coast during the African Cup of Nations this summer, they've been a little bit disappointing. So possibly a calculated risk for a club like Arsenal. He'll be looking to play Champions League, especially to leave Lille to do so, because he could be playing Champions League with them. So I'm not sure necessarily that Arsenal would be his preferred destination. Really, it's a kind of wait and see. I feel like it's a bit of a poker game going on between various different clubs and Pepe and his agent himself. And it could go wrong for him if he's holding out for a club that doesn't turn out to be interested. I do think that he's got Champions League quality there, and if some of these teams come in, then Arsenal could be sort of priced out or Champions Leagued out if you want. But were he to move to the Emirates, I think he'd be a quality signing and could really work well in a front three with, say, Aubameyang and Lacazette if they could adapt to that formation.
So that was Jeremy's thoughts on Nicolás Pepe. You can follow Jeremy at JeremySmith98 on Twitter. And he'll keep you up to date with all the latest French football news out there, especially a lot linking to Arsenal, with the likes of Fekir being linked and other players in France as well. So obviously go check out Jeremy's Twitter. He's a fantastic person to follow. But does that fill me with confidence? No, I don't think it does. I think it definitely sort of gives us a little bit of perspective about what this deal is. Do I write it off completely based on what David Ornstein has said? No, I don't write it off completely. I think there is a little bit more credence to completely saying that no bid has gone in at all. I reckon there has been a little bit of chat between Arsenal and Pepe, but as Jeremy said, I think there is a lot of interest from Pepe to go to PSG, but I think that will hang on the fact whether Neymar will leave the French champions and go back to Barcelona. I don't really see Arsenal being the place where he wants to end up. I don't think Arsenal are no longer the pinnacle that they were. I think Arsenal are seen, like the comments from Frankie de Jong recently, as sort of a stepping stone to go to Arsenal and then go on to the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, for instance. So whilst I'm happy for us to take on players of top quality, I don't think that Pepe necessarily sees Arsenal as his next step. And I don't think that this deal will ultimately happen, although I very much would have liked it to. I think he's a player that could have provided a lot of quality. And I think the front three that Jeremy suggested of himself, Lacazette and Aubameyang, would have been absolutely brilliant to see in action. But it probably won't happen, but who knows? This is a very fantastically weird world of football these days, so anything is possible. So then moving on to our second player to look at, and that is obviously Kieran Tierney. Now, the Kieran Tierney deal has sort of rumbled on over these last few, well, it's turning into months now that we've been linked to the Scottish left-back. But things are starting to move in a lot more of a positive direction for Arsenal. A lot of positive news is needed after what has been a really frustrating couple of days with Pepe links, which we know are probably not that true, but also, of course, the Saliba deal, which has been a real big hit to Arsenal fans, could possibly lead moving on and going to Tottenham instead of course, Arsenal. So the fact that we've now submitted an official £25 million bid is good, and the fact that we might be getting this deal happening is great. Now, before I give my thoughts once again, I'm going to pass on to another expert who's going to give you some more inside information. As a Celtic fan, he writes for Read Celtic, which is another good, fantastic website. You'll remember when we covered Mario Lemina, Luke Osman wrote for Read Southampton, and this is their Celtic branch of their establishment. And so you're going to hear the last and latest thoughts of Brian McVeigh. So here you go.
Hi, good afternoon. Brian McVeigh here. I do a little bit of journalism for Read Celtic, and I'm here today to give you my opinion and a lot of Celtic fans' opinion on the potential transfer of Kieran Tierney. £25 million bid submitted for the left back. This protracted transfer is coming and going. It's been a couple of bids have been submitted already. Some people were thinking, have Arsenal actually got the money here, which now we feel they have. Is it a good deal for Celtic? Yes, the money was required at 25 million. Arsenal have put that up, and I think Celtic will sell. Is it a good deal for Arsenal? Yes, absolutely a good deal for Arsenal. He is a dynamic, strong, physical left back who is only 22 years old. Comparisons with Robertson at Liverpool, but Robertson at 22 was nowhere near the athlete, the player that Tierney is now. Yes, Celtic isn't in the same league, literally, but in terms of competition as the English Premiership, but he's played in the Champions League, he's played in the Europa League, played for Scotland, so he's got experience. He's a winning mentality is what he's got. Loves to get forward, loves to score goals, has provided countless assists for strikers and for wingers, so he loves to get involved in pushing up the pitch and becoming a real focal point for that left-hand side. Is he as good a defender as he is going forward? Probably not, but that can develop over time. And the only problem that Arsenal are going to have is that he's injured just now. He just went under a double hernia operation at the end of May. So he's not training, and he will not be available for the next few weeks. May miss the start of the season. So, but he's a fantastic player, and one that Celtic fans do not want to leave, but one that Arsenal fans should be very excited about.
So they were the thoughts of Brian McVeigh. You can check out Brian McVeigh on Twitter at BrianMcVeigh7. And obviously very positive. I love the fact that he spoke about him being better than what Andrew Robertson was at the same age, more of an athlete. and the winning mentality definitely struck a chord with myself, being an Arsenal fan that longs for someone to be in the Arsenal side with a winning mentality. We seemingly have missed the days of Alexis Sanchez whilst he didn't get on with a lot of those players. You can't question the Chileans' winning mentality, and that's something that is needed in the Arsenal backline especially, and hopefully that Tierney, if he is to come into Arsenal, can provide the club with that. So what do we think about him? Well, I think the deal is eventually going to happen. Arsenal will eventually agree something with Kieran Tierney. The most recent news today is that the staggered payment structure Celtic still have a little bit of an issue with, so it's going to take a little bit more ironing out for the deal to really come to fruition, but Arsenal ultimately just need to basically stump up the money to get this deal done, because it is necessary to do it. He's a fantastic player. If he was in the Premier League, I think he'd be going for a lot more than the £25 million suggests. But as Brian said there, he's someone that Arsenal will be getting a great deal for. And so if we can get Kieran Tierney into the team and into next season, barring of course any recovery issues from the recent injury, which is frustrating but probably still worth it based on the fact that we'll be getting a fantastic player. So let's hope that we can get Kieran Tierney into this Arsenal side as soon as possible. So I hope you've enjoyed today's show and giving you the latest insight and information regarding both Nicolás Pepe and Kieran Tierney. If you have, first of all, of course, please check out the two guys that have contributed to the video, Jeremy Smith and Brian McVeigh. They're basically all their information is in the description for you to check out, so please do. And I'll see you again very soon for the next episode of either Raw Reactions or a tactical breakdown show of a specific player. We'll have to see what news comes out tomorrow as we move into basically our first game of pre-season against Colorado Rapids. Also tonight, obviously, if you're watching this before 8 o'clock, you will not know about the fact that we're doing a show with Tim Walsh, who was with the Arsenal side yesterday on Venice Beach, and he's a part of Venice Beach Football Club, and so that's why he was with the likes of Rob Holding and Callum Chambers, and we're going to have a chat to him tonight, Sunday, at 8 o'clock tonight, about what's going on with the Arsenal tour and how he's involved with it all. So please go check that out. If of course you're listening to this later on, you can go back and check that episode out, and I hope you enjoy it. But we'll see you again very, very soon for another episode. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a like, please subscribe if you're new, and turn those notifications on, and as always, up the Arsenal.